welcome to Big Boof Bets. It's the Get That Money podcast. I am Nate Stevenson, and as always, I am joined by Mr. Big Boofy Skirman and Mr. Tony T-Bone Guarino. It is the NFL playoffs, gentlemen. We have made it without any canceled games. Can you believe it?
Amazing, man. Super happy that, we were able to get the whole slate in. I remember even saying in June, just don't take away football from me. I'm cool with everything else. Just don't take football away. And so far, so good.
Amen, Boof. Amen. What say you, Tone?
Here we go. Dun, 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 dun. Here we go. Dun, 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 dun. You know the song, but Pittsburgh's going to the divisional round. Fortunately, I'd like to be more confident than that. Yeah, hopefully. Oh, baby, just like you said, playoff week finally here. I can't believe we got the entire NFL season in. I'm just riding that high, and I can't wait to keep this train going. I know we have a lot to talk about before we get started too, so I can't wait to get to this playoff round.
Amen, baby, amen. But before we get there, let's recap the last week of the regular season, Boof.
All right, so we had 16 locks last week after both of our conditional picks did come to fruition. Sadly, yet again. Our locks went 8-8. Losers were Falcons +7. That was a conditional pick. Cowboys -2.5. That was a line that went down, so we got it at a crappy number. Still wouldn't have covered anyway. Vikings -6.5. Very disappointing in that one. I know Dalvin Cook didn't end up playing, but I just consider the Vikings to be significantly better than the Lions, and that proved to not be the case. They almost lost the game. Steelers and Browns under 42. I remember watching the game with you guys, and Mason Rudolph and the Steelers, they scored the last touchdown to bust our under, and they get within 2 points. And at that point, we're like, he better get the 2-point conversion and send us to overtime and win the game, which of course he didn't. So the Steelers lose, and we don't hit our under. Titans -7. That was another conditional pick. Took a last-second heave to A.J. Brown and then a field goal off of the upright to go through for the Titans to win by a field goal. Obviously not enough for us. Seahawks -5.5 and the Seahawks Seahawks and 49ers under 46.5. Seahawks did win, but wasn't good enough. And then the Eagles +1.5. That line shot all the way up to +6.5. Which kudos to you if you waited it out that long, because +6.5 is what it took to actually win that bet.
Because Doug Peterson's also an idiot.
Well, maybe not an idiot, but just a dick.
It's true. That's a very good point. It wasn't idiotic for his team.
Everybody that was hoping for the Eagles to do well, whether you're a Giants fan or a bettor at anything under than 6.5, Peterson was not your boy that day.
I feel like 95% of the country is like F Doug Peterson.
We did have some winners. As I said, we had 8 of them. We had the Ravens -11.5. They were in cruise control the whole way. Steelers +10. We had the Rams -1 with the new Kurt Warner, John Wolford. Just kidding. Probably not quite Kurt Warner, but good enough on that day. Packers -4.5. Packers and Bears over 50.5. Raiders and Broncos over 50.5. Chargers and Chiefs over 43.5. And the Saints -6.5. Worth noting, all of our overs did hit this week, so proud of that one. That brings our season total to 85, 74, and 5 with a 53.46% success rate. And if you follow us on social media, we gave you our props like we always do on Sunday. They went 13-8. Worth noting, if you just simply ignored the Eagles game for us, you would have had 3 more winners this week. So, not proud of that. But just screw that game. I just want to say screw that game. That's all.
I was going to say, yeah, I wish we all ignored the Eagles game.
You could have dodged Jalen Hurts, Boston Scott, and just the Eagles +1. But anyway, props are now up to 166, 134. I'm sorry, 166 and 134 with a 55.33 success rate. And moving on to the next order of business, this has been something that amongst the three of us, pretty much since halfway through the year when everything was looking pretty good, we've been excited to share with you guys. And those of you who are our loyal followers who have been around since episode 1 this year, I'm sure you recognized it in your own bank accounts because all of them cashed. We did do an episode of NFL futures. They were team win totals, over-unders. We went 8-0-2, so undefeated on the year with team preseason team total over-unders as locks. We gave you 10 of them. 8 of them hit, 2 of them pushed. They were the Packers over 8.5, Bears under 8, that was a push, Bucks over 9.5, Patriots under 9.5, Bills over 8.5, Jets under 6.5, Ravens over 11, that was our second push, Steelers over 9, Chiefs over 11.5, and the Jaguars under 5. Now, when we plug that into our lock success rate calculator here, that bumps our season success rate up to 55.69%. So I know I recognize it in my own bank account. Hopefully you guys were on board from the start and you saw it come pouring into your own bank account. Very exciting times for us.
Yeah, Boof, that's awesome. I know we had been intently watching that throughout the season, and especially as it looked like a lot of things were going to hit. And then we were all very excited about that. So just further gives me confidence that we can properly read teams and both during the season and as far as the season outlook goes. So if you're new to the show, if you're a loyal listener, obviously tune in all year and make sure you put those futures bets in, baby.
Yeah, and definitely think of us come next season. I mean, you can't do better than undefeated, baby. We didn't cost you money on any pick there.
Exactly.
I'm super proud of that.
100% return on investment is really good. That's as good as you can possibly do.
All right. Well, speaking of the future, let's look into the future and get started with the Saturday wildcard games, where we will start with the Indianapolis Colts at the Buffalo Bills. The Bills laying 6.5. You're over/under at 51.5.
There's no possible way I can take the lead on this one. Bills on a roll. This is all you, baby.
Thank you, Nate. Obviously, I have been on the Bills for quite some time now. I'm taking the Bills minus 6.5. They have been a dominant team for the second half of the season here. And if we go back and look at their schedule, their last 3 games to close out the season, we beat the Dolphins, who are a 10-win team, in a game they had to have when we weren't even playing our starters here. Beat them by 30. Game before that, we played the Patriots, beat them by 29. We beat the Broncos by 29 before that. Then you get the Steelers, beat them by 11, 49ers by 10, Chargers by 10. You have a loss on the Hail Murray at Arizona, and then beat the Seahawks by 10. So 3 in a row to finish the year at 29, 29, and 30. And then 4 out of 5 after that, where you win by at least 10. This spread is only 6.5. I do respect the Colts. I think they have a good defense, a good running game. When Phillip Rivers plays well and isn't pressured, they have a good passing game. So they are a very well-balanced team and are good in a lot of areas. This, to me, is just more about how good the Bills are. I think the Bills are better in, maybe not quite as good on defense, but on offense, they are significantly better. Josh Allen is playing amazing football. The addition of Stephon Diggs this year has been monumental for them, and it showed up almost in every single week. And the spread, as long as it stays under a touchdown, I'm taking the Bills. So we got it at 6.5. I love it. And for me, it is lock-worthy. Nate, what say you?
I could not agree more, man. I've been extremely impressed with what I've seen from Josh Allen this season and the Bills, especially the last half of the year. They should arguably be going into the playoffs on a long win streak, if not for the Hail Mary, as you referenced. Allen having an unbelievably great year in terms of just development and performance. He was one of the most inaccurate passers last year. He is now the third most accurate passer in the league this season, which is just a crazy step forward. It definitely gives the city of Buffalo a lot to be excited about for both this year and the future. Him and the connection that Stephon Diggs have is just, it's what you see in elite teams that are competing for the Super Bowl every year. And I think they are going to be making beautiful music together for the years to come. As I said, I agree with a lot of what you said. I just think this is a team that's just gotten hot, and they've gotten hot at the right time. They're at home. Bills Mafia will be in attendance. There will be fans in the stands. That is a big deal, as Buffalo is a rowdy venue at home with those fans. The Bills' last playoff win was in 1995. I feel very confident that ends this season. I agree with you, Boof. Let's lock in -6.5.
Oh, yeah. Get that money.
All right, moving on to the middle game on Saturday. We have the Los Angeles Rams at the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks laying 4, and the over-under at 43.
The lover of just great offense in football that I am, it actually is upsetting that the Seahawks have not let Russ cook the last half of the year, because, a lot of the things they were doing in the first half of the season offensively was just fun to watch. You had DK just getting a ton of yards, Russ just chucking balls over the yard, a lot of points by the Hawks. It was a beautiful thing to watch. But I say that, but on the other hand, as far as predicting games, the fact that their defense has gotten way better the second half of the season, and their offense has become very predictable in terms of how they manage games with not letting Russ cook, as a bettor, I really appreciate that. And we have a total of 43 points here that is just a very, very juicy under to me with how Seattle has been playing as a team. And now you're going against a Rams team with a good defense and their backup quarterback. All of that says under to me. So I love the under. And the fact that the Rams have a backup quarterback under center and Mr. Wolford, who did perform admirably last week against the Cardinals. I do like Seattle to win. It would not surprise me if they cover the number of -4. So that would be my lean there. My favorite bet is under 43. And just a couple more nuggets that I found very interesting. Seattle missed the playoffs only one time in the last 8 years, and that was in 2017. But those 7 years that they have been in the playoffs, they have won at least one game. So if you want to take the Seattle money line and just be extra safe, I like that a lot. Which leads me to one of my favorite FanDuel prop parlays, however they listed on there, and that is the combo of the Seattle money line and the under of 42.5 at +190. So you're getting almost 2-1 on Seattle to win the game and under 42.5 points. I think that's all pretty juicy. As I said, we have the under at 43. I believe that was on DraftKings. So that's the official number we're going to be using. But just wanted to throw that extra little nugget out there for everybody who wants to throw some extra cheese to make some extra units. And I believe that's all I have, Boof. What do you got?
Well, first off, I think that's a great little nugget at the end there with the Seattle money line and under. I think that's an awesome pick. I can get on board with that myself. Just as far as the Seattle overview, it's interesting because they kind of stopped letting Russ cook literally halfway through the year. And they were 6-2 at the time. And they go through the second half of the year. Obviously, they finished 12-4. So when they didn't let Russ cook, and it was more about the running game and slowing it down and getting better on defense, they went 6-2 doing that. So I'm kind of like you. I am pro. Let's be aggressive. Let's play to our strengths. To me, you paid Russell Wilson all this money. Why are we not letting him throw the ball on first down over and over? But at the end of the day, I mean, they went 6-2 basically with both philosophies. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not. Maybe Pete Carroll's wrong, and maybe I know more than Pete Carroll. I don't know. Who knows? But regardless, we are in the Russ not cooking stage of things here. And the Seattle Seahawks played the Rams twice. Obviously, they're in the same division. Those totals were 20-6 and 23-19, both of which obviously go under the 42.5. Jared Goff might play in this game. He played in the first two. Both went under this total. If he does play in this game, he's coming off of thumb surgery on his throwing hand. So you tell me, do you think he's going to throw the ball better than he did in those two games or worse than he did in those two games? If it ends up not being Goff and it ends up being Wolford, we were calling him potentially the next Kurt Warner. I think we can back off of that a little bit.
A little tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, having a little fun with it, But if we're keeping it real, I think we need to back off of that a little bit. His stat line for the game last week against the Cardinals, who I would consider them to be a middle of the pack defense. I don't think they stink. I don't think they're great. He was 22 of 38 for 231 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 1 interception. So decent, but not that good throwing the ball. He did have 6 carries for 56 yards, so did display a little bit of athleticism and a little bit of mobility running the ball.
Keep an eye on that over-rushing prop for him. Sorry to interrupt, Boof, but that just hit me here.
Yeah, and we'll see where that is. And, of course, if it's favorable, we will be, tweeting that out and put it out on social media. But beyond that, after the Rams got the pick 6 to give themselves a little bit of a lead in that game, you saw them go ultra conservative. So you have a coach in Pete Carroll that hasn't been letting Russ cook for over half the season. And now we got Sean McVay over here who doesn't necessarily believe in this quarterback. And I think all signs point towards the under. Like you said, it's 43 points. They've already played twice. Both of those went under. And everything logically tells me it's going to hit the under. So I love the under, and it's a lock for us.
Oh, yeah. Lock it in. Get that money.
Okay, the final Saturday game is the Tampa Bay Bucks at the Washington football team. 2020 is still following us in the 2021, I guess.
At the 7-9 team.
The Bucks are laying 8.5, and the over/under is at 45.
Okay. Washington, very quietly, has covered this number in each of the last 11 games of their season. So for me, if you made me, I would take the 8.5 points. Beyond that, Alex Smith in the games he has started, Washington is 5-1. Now, the counter arguments you might entertain is the quality of competition. Washington has played the Eagles, Panthers, Seahawks, 49ers, Steelers, Cowboys, Bengals, Lions, Giants, Cowboys, Giants in that stretch. So if we're all being honest with each other, the Steelers and the Seahawks are the only teams that are worth a crap throughout that stretch. So full disclosure, that's just how it's played out this year. I don't know. That's just enough of a sample size for me. And the fact that they did it against a 12-win Steeler team and a 12-win Seattle team. And even in the Seattle game, that was a Dwayne Haskins start. So they didn't even need Alex Smith. For me, I like Washington to cover this number. Beyond that, if you look at the types of teams that can give Tom Brady trouble, it's when you can rush the quarterback and not have to commit so many guys to rushing the quarterback, meaning you don't have to blitz. Washington's got Montez Sweat, Deron Payne, and Chase Young. And everybody's going to say, Chase Young was out there chirping Tom Brady at the end of the game, and it's made its way onto social media and stuff. But to me, he's just keeping it real. He knows Tampa Bay's tackles stink, and they're not going to be able to hang with him. And we're going to see if Bruce Arians is going to be stubborn and stick with the no risk it, no biscuit, or if he's going to be willing to commit help to dealing with him. And even if they commit help to dealing with him, they're still going to have to deal with the other guys on that defensive front. So I think Washington is strong where you need to be in order to beat Tampa Bay. And the spread is over a touchdown. I do think Tampa Bay is going to win the game. But if you ask me, I think Tampa's going to win it by a touchdown. So if I really was going to play it, I would tease either end of this. I feel comfortable teasing Washington up to 14.5. Or I feel comfortable teasing Tampa Bay down to -2.5. And I think the game is going to land somewhere in that Tampa Bay wins the game, but it's not by a ton kind of territory. So if you made me, I would take Washington plus 8.5. The only thing that is enough to scare me away from calling it a lock is just, let's be real, Tampa Bay has looked awesome the last 2.5 games. So the second half against Atlanta, then they whooped Detroit, and then they whooped Atlanta in the finale. So that's the only reason why I'm not super gung-ho on Washington. But if you made me, that's where I would go. And I also very much like either team in a 6-point teaser.
Yeah, a lot of good points, Boof. I can't hate on any of that logic. I just have a gut feeling that Tampa Bay is kind of getting hot at the right time here with how they performed the last few games of the season. You have, in my opinion, I was going to say a football team, but they're actually the football team. You have the football team. I just think they're just happy to be here. I feel like they've already accomplished their goals, and they're realistic with the fact that they're not a Super Bowl contender. I mean, not even close. They're not even a contender to get to the conference championship. It's a young team in a lot of ways, and then on top of that, you have the awesome comeback story that is Alex Smith at quarterback, Ron Rivera overcoming cancer literally during the season as their coach. Just so many awesome stories on that team, and so definitely easy to root for. But I just think it's one of those deals where they're running into a freight train here in Tampa Bay that has so many weapons on offense. As I said, they've gotten hot at the right time, and then on top of that, you have Chase Young, a rookie, poking the bear as he's running off the field in that victory against the Eagles, saying, "I want Tom Brady." I just don't think that's not something I'd recommend doing. I don't think that's a good idea. And we're getting -8.5. Tampa Bay could win by a touchdown, yes, but I don't have faith in the Washington offense to do enough against what on any given day could be a good Tampa Bay defense. So I think it's more likely for me Tampa Bay wins by double digits, and Washington's offense doesn't do much of anything at all. So I would lean laying the points of Tampa Bay. I would also lean the under just because I don't think Washington's offense is going to do very much. So those are my two favorite things. And using that same logic, you can get the Buccaneers to win and under 46.5 as a money line total points parlay on FanDuel at plus 115. I would not be afraid to put a unit on that at all. So, but yeah, that's feels like we're against each other here, Boof. So I'm going to pass it.
Indeed, I think it's worth noting that Ron Rivera is a guy that has coached his team to the Super Bowl before. As far as Chase Young talking crap on Tom Brady, we've seen this before with Rex Ryan and the Jets, and we've seen it with the Ravens. And, Tom Brady didn't torch them. I mean, they went out. They were teams that weren't afraid of them, and they just went out and beat them on the field. So I'm not saying that Washington's going to win, but I think they can hang around.
All right, well, let's head on over into Sunday's wild card action, where we will start things off with the Baltimore Ravens at the Tennessee Titans. The Ravens laying 3 and the over-under at 55.
So recent history on this. The thing that's staring you in the face is playoff Lamar. Not very good the last couple of seasons. And I think that's honestly a big reason you've seen the line movement you have, because the Titans opened at 3.5-point favorites. It's already gotten down to 3. I like that, honestly. The Titans don't have a good defense. The Titans are not as good this year as they were last year. They're not coming into the playoffs as hot. I say as hot. They've still won, a few games in a row coming into the playoffs, but they're not coming into the playoffs as hot as they were last year. Baltimore has seen them once this year. They lost in overtime 30-24 with Derrick Henry getting a walk-off touchdown. So the last 2 times these teams have played, obviously the first time being in last year's playoffs, Tennessee won 20-12. Playoff Lamar took a slight step forward from his first playoff appearance, had a lot of passing yards, but a lot of bad breaks for Baltimore in that game. I don't really think, honestly, he got much got much help. A lot of drop passes, some tipped receptions. He had a lot of yards passing, a lot of yards rushing. So it's not like he and the Baltimore offense were not productive. I think some of that was bad luck. They lost, as I said, 28-12. That is way under the total. So we're gonna table that for just a second. And then you have the game this year against the Titans. Again, that was 30-24. It was 24-24 going into overtime. It took a touchdown in overtime to reach 54. That is still under the total. I think everyone can tell where I'm trending with this. Baltimore, also, 14 of the 16 games they have played this year, including the game I just mentioned against the Titans, in which there were 54 points scored in overtime. 14 of the 16 games this year have gone under the total of 55. So as much as I lean towards the Ravens getting the job done this year against a really, really bad Titans defense, which literally took me half the year to finally get on board with because Boofy was yelling at me all year about it, I expect all the running that's going to occur with both teams to play a big role on how quickly this game moves, which means a lot of running clock, and both recent history between these two teams and how Ravens games tend to go this season. I think the under, which may surprise a lot of people, is a very sneaky play in this game. And as I said, I expect the Ravens to win. I expect Lamar to get over that playoff hump. But my favorite bet's under 55, and I don't think it's going to be close.
All right. So I like Tennessee +3. Obviously, Tennessee has won the last 2 matchups between the two. Both were big games at the time when they happened. Obviously, last year, Baltimore was the number 1 seed in the AFC, and Tennessee beat them at their place in the playoffs. This year, in Week 11, Tennessee went to Baltimore again and beat them again. Now, the stuff I hear about, like, Baltimore's got a good defense, and they're going to be able to shut down Henry and all this. Like, Derrick Henry went for 28 carries for 133 yards in the game this year. And last year, he went for 30 carries for 195 yards in that game. Now, when do we ever, like, not expect Derrick Henry to get the ball? So my point is Baltimore showed up knowing they got to shut down Henry 2 games in a row. They weren't able to do it. Now, beyond that, for whatever reason, people still seem to think that Ryan Tannehill can't get it done. Now, if we go back to the Ravens game, which was November the 22nd, and we go off of the quarterback rating. So basically, it's no secret that the Titans play complementary football. They want to run first, and Tannehill is asked to make plays. The reality is he's made said plays. So, again, if we go back to that November 22nd, the Baltimore game, 6 out of the last 7 games, Tannehill has had a quarterback rating over 100, including games with 145.8 and 131.3. He has been excellent. They have 2 good receivers in A.J. Brown and Corey Davis. When they need to throw, they can. And I think they do a good job of making sure they throw when they want to throw. So when they get a favorable look, they go downfield. When they get a favorable run look, they run the ball. It's pretty basic stuff, but they're good at it. And that's what good teams do. Now, I have a team that has beaten said opponent 2 times in a row, both in cases where, one of which Baltimore was the number 1 seed in the AFC in the playoffs. And the other one was week 11 in the middle of things where both teams really needed the game. So now Tennessee, both of those were on the road. Now we're at home and it's in the playoffs. And Tennessee is still getting a field goal. Earlier in the week it was 3.5. So you might even see it go up. Give me Tennessee with the points, and that's where I'm at on it. As far as the under goes, Nate kind of laid it out. I mean, both of these guys want to run the ball. That means the clock is going to be moving. Outside of a bunch of huge runs, if we keep everything in, the 5-yard-ish territory per carry, give or take, the clock is going to be running. Drives should take longer, which means less possessions and less opportunities to score points. Both of the previous 2 meetings did go under this number of 55. Even the game this year went to overtime and had a touchdown. So in a way, it had a bonus touchdown and still didn't hit that number. So I think this is a number that reflects how bad Tennessee's defense has been, which is accurate. It's just, I've already seen it twice when these 2 teams play each other. The game goes a little bit differently. And I'm also on board with the under. So I am down to lock the under with you. But as far as the spread goes, I would be taking Tennessee.
You want pizza box there, baby?
Screw it, man. Let's do the pizza box.
Oh, yeah, pizza box. And let's lock it in and get that money for the under. Let's go.
All right, up next we have the Chicago Bears at the New Orleans Saints. The Saints laying 10 and the over-under at 47.5.
Okay, I like the Bears on this one. Now, let's start with Chicago has covered the number of 10 in 13 out of 16 games this year. They also did get to play the Saints earlier this season. That game went to overtime. It was a 26-23 win for the Saints. Now, in that game, Michael Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders did not play. Both are expected to play for the Saints. Kamara had a COVID scare this week. He is also expected to play. Now, Kamara in this game the first time had a great game. He had over 60 yards rushing and over 90 yards receiving. So he already played and had a great game in a game that only went to overtime. The Bears in that game were still in the Nick Foles era during the middle of the season here. Mitchell Trubisky has been playing much better football down the stretch for the Bears, including winning 3 out of their last 4 games. Now, the Packers game here, they lost 35-16 last week in a game that obviously the Bears would have liked to have won. That game was 21-16 going late into the fourth quarter. So the score looks a lot worse than what actually happened. So to me, the Bears played what is the number 1 seed in the NFC, very tight, and we've already played the Saints, and that game went to overtime. We're talking about 10. We're not even talking about 7. We're talking about 10 points here. It's another big checkpoint for us. I just think it's too many points. I do think the Saints are going to win, but plus 10, too many points. Give me the Bears plus 10. For me, that's in lock territory.
One of the craziest stats I heard was that the Saints have lost their last 3 playoff appearances on the last play of the game. Like that's like, talk about heartbreaking. That's nuts. And obviously,
You don't mind. Can we think about it? Is that Stephon Diggs with like the crazy Hail Mary-esque type play, then the crappy pass interference against the Rams, and then something against the Vikings last year?
yeah, that was the Vikings, twice, and then against the Rams. Yep, that's right.
Okay. That's crazy.
It's a very good memory, sir. It's like you're a good bettor or something.
I like I hope so.
But yeah, also the Saints and Bears already played this season. That was 26-23 Saints in Chicago in overtime. So very close game already this season between these two teams, with arguably a worse quarterback for the Bears. As you noted, Boof, Mitch has been playing a lot better since he got back into the starting role. I think that matters a lot here. The Bears are getting 10 points, 10, against a Saints team that you have people coming back from injury in Michael Thomas and Kamara. I guess Kamara, not so much injury, but COVID. So, I mean, the effects that has on a person literally varies and is kind of a wild card in and of itself. I think you made a lot of great points, and a lot of the data and logic points to the Bears plus 10 just being too good to pass up. So I'm going to roll with Bears plus 10, baby.
Oh, yeah. Get that money.
Okay, the final Sunday night wildcard game and wildcard game of the week. It'll be the Cleveland Browns at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers laying 6, and your over-under at 47.5.
I'm going to do my best here to not be an obnoxious yinzer, because obviously I'm excited that my team is in the playoffs, which, I'm used to because we're winners here in Pittsburgh. Unfortunately, the people of Cleveland don't know what that's like a lot, and I feel bad for them a little bit, just a little bit, because
I don't.
Boof, I don't know how to respond to that, but okay. I gotta say, like, a part of me does feel a little bit bad for them. You know what? The reason I feel bad is because they finally, we all know it's been a struggle for Cleveland, but they finally have a good season. They finally get to the playoffs, and it's like, oh yeah, by the way, COVID is taking out a couple of your best players, your head coach, and then, by the way, you have to go down to Pittsburgh and try to beat the bad bully on the block that you haven't pretty much been able to handle for like 2 decades to advance in the playoffs. Good luck. Good fight. So, I mean, I in that regard, I feel a little bit bad, but once the Steelers take care of business, and I've had about 5 or 6 beers in me on Sunday night, I'm probably not going to feel that bad about it, and just going to be, ready to look forward to the next round of the playoffs. So, yeah, a full-strength Steelers squad already took care of the Browns earlier this season. The Browns barely beat the Steelers' second stringers last week in a have-to-win game to get into the playoffs. The Steelers are laying 6 here. I think that's a no-brainer. And the total is at 47.5. I think you look at the first game more as a more representative indication of what is going to happen this game, and that was also under the total. So I think both of those are juicy for me. I like a Steelers win. I like the Steelers defense to also get it done. Give me the Steelers minus 6 and under 47.5. Go Steelers!
So in last week's game, Cam Hayward, T.J. Watt, Marquise Pouncey, and Big Ben Roethlisberger did not play. It was only a 2-point victory for the Browns, and the Steelers did have an opportunity to tie it with a 2-point conversion at the end of the game that they did not convert. The first game, which was in Pittsburgh. The Steelers did win 38-6. I see it going more like the first game. Denzel Ward is expected to be back for Cleveland in this one, but they are down. Who's the defensive end that they're down? He tore an Achilles last week. Nate, help me out here.
Vernon.
Yeah, they are down Olivier Vernon, out with an Achilles from last week. So they're missing half of their pass rush. And that's one area where Cleveland would be able to take advantage of a weakness with the Steelers, which is their offensive line. I do think that the Steelers having their guys back on defense will be able to handle Nick Chubb and company in the running game. I don't think Cleveland's going to be able to get it going in the passing game. They barely got it going last week. So I like the Steelers at anything under a touchdown. This is only 6. I'm down with that. And then as far as the over-under is concerned, if you look at where the injuries are, well, not necessarily the injuries, but with COVID, Joel Bitonio, the left guard for Cleveland, is out. So I really do think the Steelers are going to be able to hold Cleveland in check offensively, and that's a big part of this. So I like the under. Where are we getting? 47.5. Love that. And we're going to close out the playoff slate with 2 locks.
Oh, yeah. Get that money. Twice. Go Steelers.
All right, well, that wraps up the wild card week and does it for me. As always, I will throw it over to Boof to wrap up the wild locks for this week.
Thank you, Tone. We've got 6 locks this week. They are the Bills -6.5, Rams and Seahawks under 43, Titans and Ravens under 55, Bears +10, Steelers -6, and Steelers and Browns under 47.5. And Nate, I knew you already shared one parlay with me that I already placed myself. And I know you got a couple more beyond that, so go ahead.
Oh, yeah, we definitely get some parlays for the people. Not quite tier style this week because of the playoffs and everything, but definitely have some good stuff for everybody this week. So, first of all, as you know, we've mentioned how FanDuel does has a parlay section, and you can we have already done a parlay of parlays made famous by our one and only Mr. Guarino here on the podcast. And I think I have one that he's going to like. And it starts with Buffalo -6.5. And then we're going to go parlay number 5 on FanDuel in the parlay section. Seattle -2.5 and under 50.5 for +110. And also parlay number 5. Tampa Bay -6.5 and under 54.5 at +100. Also parlay number 5. Theme here. Baltimore -1.5 and under 62.5 at +125. And then we're going to go the New Orleans halftime full-time at -190. And again, back to parlay number 5 for the Steelers-Browns game. Steelers -1.5 and under 55.5 at -120. And then we're just going to chuck in the Alabama money line for the national championship for college because Bama takes care of business.
Love that.
Bro, come on. Let's go. Saban takes care of business. It's a 7-leg parlay. That's plus 67.37 on the odds. So $100 bet will win you $6,737. That's our big guy of the week. So we did as good as we could here with giving you a big money guy. All right, so next we're going to move back down and we're going to go Bills -6.5, Rams, Seattle under 42.5 because it's FanDuel and that's where the number is. The under 43 was on DraftKings, which is very important for those who want the extra half a point. The Tampa Bay halftime full-time at -180. I expect Tampa Bay to take care of business all game. Baltimore -3, or if you like Tennessee, then go Tennessee +3. But I expect Baltimore to win, so I'm going Baltimore -3. New Orleans halftime full-time at -190, because although we do expect Chicago to keep it within shouting distance, we both expect New Orleans to get the job done. So I do think New Orleans halftime, full-time presents some value in a parlay at minus 190. And then parlay number 5 again, Pittsburgh minus 1.5 and under 55.5 at minus 120, because I just think those are two things that are damn near locks. Well, not damn near locks. They are locks, and we're getting more points on both of them. So I love both of those things at minus 120. That's a 6-leg parlay at plus 27.36. So $100 bet, you're looking at almost $2,750. I like that a lot. And then one of the teasers that Boof was referencing is a 6.5 point teaser, which brings the Bills down to pick'em, the Rams Hawks to under 49, Tampa Bay -2, Baltimore plus 3.5, or the total under 61. I like both of those. You can do either or for that. New Orleans -3, and then the Browns Steelers total to under 54, or the Steelers down to plus 0.5 point, which is basically just win the game, considering it's the playoffs and you have to win. So you have a couple options on that teaser, and that brings it to plus 400. I like that a lot. $100 bet wins you $400. And lastly, our get out of jail free on a wild card playoff weekend. We have the Bills money line, Rams Hawks under 48.5 at minus 250, Tampa Bay money line, Baltimore money line, New Orleans money line, and Pittsburgh money line. 6 legs gives you odds of plus 493, or if you want to subtract Baltimore and feel extra safe, it'll give you a 5-leg parlay at plus 280 on the odds. I like all of that, and I feel like it's going to be a very, very profitable wildcard weekend for everybody.
Hey, me too, man. I'm looking forward to it. It's playoff time, baby. Good luck to all of the teams that you root for, unless they are Cleveland. And best of luck on all of your bets. Let's get that money.
Sorry, Cleveland friends. Oh, yeah. Get that money.